A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Spectrum Extra, live on Radio 1 FM 90. This being a Friday, we review the major events of the week. We'll be looking at the nominations for local government positions. Well, we know the election fever has begun, and for the last 3 days, the Electoral Commission has been nominating people who want to contest for positions in the local government. And of course, the focus mainly is in Kampala, where there is a tussle for that position of the Lord Mayor. Today, the incumbent, Erias Lukwago, was nominated by the Electoral Commission. This time around, he comes under the ticket of the PFF party. Last term, he was under the FDC. He has been in that position for about 15 years. NUP has fronted Nakawa East MP, Engineer Ronald Balimwezo Nsubuga. The Democratic Party has fronted Beatrice Mao. FDC has fronted former Makindye East MP, Ibrahim Kasozi. NRM has fronted Moses Kizito Nsubuga. Former Kampala District Woman MP, Nabila Nagai, is running as an independent. All these people have been nominated, and they are promising to solve the problems in Kampala. The incumbent Lukwago says throughout this tenure where he has served, he has laid down strategic plans, and in the next year, he intends to mobilize, push for funding to have those strategies implemented, but he also pledges to continue protecting public assets in Kampala. NUP says Balimwezo is experienced and will provide a new approach to addressing the challenges. He has promised transparency, accountability, and value for money. He says that Kampala must retain a considerable percentage of what it has collected from URA to implement its projects. When you look at the pledges being made by all those people who are vying for this position, they are good things. The question is, will they be able to solve the problems in Kampala? We'll be looking at that race to see what is likely to define it and who is likely to emerge as a winner. We will go inside the NUP party. There's that challenge of the party card. Some people have called it a debacle, but the party is also saying there's nothing like that. On Friday last week, the party began issuing flags to candidates in the local government following a vetting exercise that took some time. When the list started coming out via the social media platforms of this political party, those disgruntled started flocking to the party headquarters. They addressed media, different media houses, and complained, saying there was favoritism, there was corruption, and all manner of things. The party was quick to respond, saying that it had done what was best. All those people that came out had the support on the ground. They had also passed the vetting exercise. Now, it should be remembered that the NUP uses a vetting exercise where face-to-face interview with the Electoral Management Committee accounts for 40%, while research on the ground, conducted on the ground to determine the strength of the candidate, determines 60%. The party says this exercise is carried out by a reputable research company. We do know that company, and they said they cannot reveal it because then it will cause that particular problem where people will start pointing fingers at that particular company. The leader of the party, Robert Kyagulanyi, has urged the supporters, including those who lost, to remain focused on the main target, which is to cause political change in the country. He actually says those who lost the cards will play a major role if they stand behind those who actually won the cards. Now, some aspirants immediately joined the other political parties. Others have decided to run as independent. The party insists this vetting system is part of their current constitution, but they intend to change that if the new constitution is approved by the Electoral Commission. We'll look at that issue in detail. A panel of 4 people here in studio. Dr. Sarah Birete, Chief Executive Officer at the Center for Constitutional Governance. She's a seasoned election observer, pundit on governance and human rights issues. It's a pleasure having you on Spectrum Extra, Dr. Sarah Birete.
Thank you for inviting me. Good evening, fellow panelists and listeners out there.
Our second panelist, Imam Kasozi. He is a lecturer at the Islamic University in Uganda. He's a farmer. He comes from the Justice Forum Party. Good evening, Imam Idi Kasozi. It's a pleasure having you on Spectrum Extra.
Good evening, viewers and listeners, and good evening to my fellow panelists.
Also in studio, the Honorable Paul Mwiru, member of the National Unity Platform Party, is vying for the Jinja South East parliamentary seat. He's also a coordinator or overseer of the political party affairs in 6 districts in Busoga. Good evening, Honorable. It's a pleasure having you on Spectrum Extra.
Thank you. Good evening, listeners and viewers. I'm delighted to be here once again.
Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. Mr. Isaac Kayonde, economist and NRM member vying for the Gomba West parliamentary seat. Good evening. It's a pleasure having you on Spectrum Extra.
Good evening, listeners, and thank you for the invite, and hope we have a good debate.
All right. We want to begin with this issue of the mayoral race and the nominations, how they happened. We know very well that these elections are critical because partly they determine the strength of a political party at the grassroots. It gives us an opportunity to understand if you have leaders to the level of local council, because then we will understand how deep you are, deep-rooted as a political party in understanding the affairs of Uganda. And I want to begin with you, Imam Idi Kasozi, on this particular issue. You followed these nominations and seen what has been happening. Let's get your quick comment on it before we actually open up a deep discussion. Imam Idi Kasozi.
Thank you very much. Now we are in the national nominations. After the primaries in the different parties. Of course, some parties may not necessarily have primaries. Their primaries are automatic because they have one individual for each area of interest, and therefore there's no competition. But in parties where there's competition, I would say it was not all good. And it has its own implications. And that's why you also see we are likely to have many more independents coming up again because of two things. No transparency in the primaries, whatever style of people used, whether it is lining up, whether it is scientific, whether it is vetting, it all has almost a common phenomenon that we seem not to have been to be ready for elections in this country. We are not ready for competition. Okay? Everybody will come with an excuse that he vindicates him when he's trying to secure what he wants. And I have said before, and I call it again, that we are practicing politics of positions. I either have a position or I do the alternative. National building, community development, changing our country does not only need politicians, it needs all of us. And each of us put in what he or she thinks is the best. And in the final analysis, we could be there. So what have I seen? People who contested in a particular party, they are now being nominated on another party's card. And two, if you go by what we saw in the NRM, right from the very primaries up to the SEC, in delegates conference, there are a lot of similarities. And the whole story was, I must get it. Actually, I saw them borrowing the North Court thing, because the North Quarters, the philosophy is we either win or they lose. They either lose or we win. There is no chance for saying they have lost. No. Have we ever lost? No.
No chance for fairness.
No. We either win or they. So, but the process of corruption, the process of using cash, okay, is not a good signature, because all of them are complaining. In the NRM, they are complaining. In the last 3 days, I had the opportunity to sit in a conference where I had to access people who were physically present in the primaries and in the final take. And when they tell you what happened, you begin to pity. What is it creating? If we go, that, like for example, Nobu is saying it is those who have succeeded in getting cards, some group members. NRM, the same. Probably even in these other parties, we could maybe witness the same. What is the result? What are you seeing? Those, the have-nots, the weak, the poor may now gang against the rich. Oh, we are going to teach our people are going to be taught to bad practices that and actually after the whole thing, then they begin to analyze how did Imam Kasozi get the money that he has used to beat me. He stole. He's corrupt. He did what? And then now corruption becomes a culture. Stealing becomes a culture. Failure to do what we are supposed to do, you are asked to go and do a project. Instead of sinking the money into the project, you sink it into your pocket because you are preparing yourself for the next elections. That is very dangerous, according to me. 2, there are situations where you cannot imagine that even that competition is there. You cannot compare two people by all standards, especially for the positions that determine policy or determine analyzing. This is what we call oversight. You cannot oversight something when you have no ability to analyze, read, conceptualize, analyze the situation. What will people do? They will always come to you just to give you some token, and you begin to act. Where we have decision makers taking decisions because they have a token, we are in trouble. I want to give you an example cited by a former honorable member of parliament, a former secretary assistant, I think Secretary General of East African Community, a former diplomat at the UN level. She said she was really amazed when she found a colleague whom they had been together in, I think, 7th Parliament, who is contesting this time that he had taken a bribe from Imam Kasozi, and now he was running away. He had already pocketed that money. He was running to Mwiru to pick also from Mwiru. A former MP. Yes. Honorable Kilaso is the one who said this 2 days ago, 3 days ago. We were at here. There was a conference for conference building, and I was mesmerized. And I'm saying again, what a former member of parliament doing that, and why are they also doing it? Because some of their colleagues who lost and came back into the community, the life they are leading is not comfortable at all. Okay. And therefore, all those influence who gets the card and why they are struggling for it, and accusations and counter accusations are going to come up. Right. And the danger, lastly, the danger we have now, everybody has the ability to produce whatever he wants, and he will post it to everybody. And if we do not also critically look at the messages we are getting, we are also again throwing the country in trouble. Lastly, what His Excellency the President did to calm down the youth who had rose up because of what the chairman of the Electoral Commission had done in favor of his son, and he threw to them 50,500 shillings per each of them, and then they cooled down. Some of them ran back home. Some of them began to sell tags according to the information available to people who are not members of the delegates. Who are not delegates. That alone is I don't know how to explain it. All right. So we wait to see if we had challenges of that nature in intra elections, what are we going to have in the
elections?
Party elections.
Right. Thank you very much, Imam, for your opening remarks there. Now let's go to Dr. Sarah Birete. Very quickly, your thoughts on the political processes that have happened this week so far before we dig deep down on each particular element.
Well, at the end of the previous week, we were entertained to Kororo's crime scene, where if you got the remarks by Dr. Bariomunsi, by Honorable Mukola and Uhuru, the sacks of money, the fake delegates, The violence, of course, we were privy to some of the fights. I think one of the presidential advisors is still in hospital. So really, from Kororo's national embarrassment. And then the week started with NUP's own version of drama. For me, the sad element is where does this leave the citizen? If all parties are failing on internal democracy, what is the alternative? The NRM regime, over the 40 years, have taken Uganda's democracy to the rat hole. Any opposition party digging deeper, this rat hole is not wanted. Opposition should find all ways of closing the rat hole while lifting Uganda's democracy upwards. So when you see the opposition digging deeper into the rat hole, I think Ugandans should reject that. So what are the principles of internal democracy? Fairness, transparency, independence, participation. I have been reviewing this week the debates of the 1994 Constituent Assembly in the constitution-making process. The quality of the 284 delegates we had in 1994, if you brought them back to Uganda today, I'm sure we would become a first world country. So the degeneration of leadership, and that's across board, it's not just political leadership. The degeneration and degradation of leadership from the Constituent Assembly, and we are making a documentary, people will see for themselves what we are talking about. The quality of debate, the caliber of people that were in the Constituent Assembly, if you compare today, you even question the development that we talk about, if that development does not include human resource development. So if a party is selecting its representatives, because members of parliament are national leaders, if a party is selecting its national leaders, and you line up people who lack caliber, competence, credibility. Yes, I know the Constitution mentions senior 6 or equivalent. But in this that senior 6 alone take this country forward. So that's why I'm saying that anybody digging deeper in the rat hole of democracy is not wanted. We have, I think the Electoral Commission has completed or is about to complete nominations for local council elections. Yes. The number of independents in that race, first of all, endangers party support, because the parties, the supporters of the party are going to follow the people they prefer. So you will find that each party has about 3 candidates. It wouldn't even matter who is the flag bearer if you don't have harmony in the party. The NRM did its primaries ahead on time. But our friends in NUP created a stampede with no space for dispute resolution. You announce your flag bearers 1 week to nomination. There is no space for complaints. There is no space for petition. There is no space for hearing out to disgruntled candidates and trying to harmonize. I don't know what they even expected or what they were waiting for, to create a stampede for themselves. In Kampala Metropolitan, and largely in central Buganda, where NUP has the biggest support and which is their main political base, they are likely to have 3 or so candidates per post. All those will divide NUP support. They are not going to dig into NRM or any other support. So I don't even understand their strategy. And it wouldn't be surprising if NUP loses part of their stronghold in Buganda. It wouldn't be surprising.
Spectrum Xtra on Radio 1 FM 90. That's the voice of Dr. Sarah Birete. We need to go for a break now because if I brought on another guest right now to speak, there wouldn't be a lot of time. We need to go for a break and, continue with the discussion after that particular break. But I'd like to remind you that you can be part of this discussion by sharing with us via the WhatsApp line 0703-090-090. Tell us what's your view about the topics that we're discussing today. We are looking at the nomination of the local government, but we're also looking at how the National Unity Platform Party is handling the issue of identifying its flag bearers. Stay tuned to Radio 1 FM 90. We continue after this. Well, thank you so much for staying with us on Spectrum Xtra, reviewing major events of the week. I have a panel of four: the Honorable Paul Mwiru, member of the National Unity Platform Party; Dr. Sarah Birete, Chief Executive Officer at the Center for Constitutional Governance; Imam Idi Kasozi, lecturer at the Islamic University in Uganda, member of the Justice Forum Party. And now coming on the mic is Mr. Isaac Kayonde, who comes from the NRM Party, vying for the position of Gomba West. That's a parliamentary seat. Let's hear from you, Mr. Kayonde. Your quick take on the major happenings, political happenings this week.
Well, from what you gave us here, the political happenings, of course, the NOPS process, which I find was very interesting. First of all, the timing. We were coming out of our national conference, they released the list. So I don't know whether they wanted to dampen our controversies or the nation talking about our different or victorious, in quotes, well-organized conference. They may not have...
Why are you in quotes?
I saw the disorganization and I was embarrassed, to say the least, as a party member. Going back to what is happening, of course, the complaints of individuals out of this process of NUP and NRM. For us as NRM, we had our process, which was supposed to be the most transparent, where people line up and choose their people and they count and all that. We got the same complaints, or even higher magnitude of dispute than, say, NOP, which had their own selection. Of course, they didn't have an election. For them, they had the selection. Now, both processes have come and brought so much antagonism in both parties. I ask myself, there are two different processes. Why is there no acceptability from the population of both processes? And having participated, I've really put it down to where we are at as a country. There's a high level of moral deficiency, that there's no more trust in any process that happens where they are losers. That you find a process like NRM. They use that, it's such a bad and archaic thing to start lining up, because it takes away the fundamental right in democracy of secrecy and the will to choose without influence. Now, you saw what happened. The bribery is even, it's even worse in that one, because people, you pay them money and they are forced to support you, which is not in the general election. Unless the general election, if you pay someone, since it's secret, he may eat your money and choose otherwise. So you don't see the people with the money coming out as winners all the time. So for me, the focus on the process, parties are now like a party like NOP. It has focused on the result of their process. The result of their selection, rather than understanding the process, rather than giving its members the confidence in that process. So you find that people are complaining, talking about money I gave so and so. I am inclined to believe that losers usually, we are very sore, and we are not good people to analyze. I mean, for me, in having gone through the NRM primary, I said, if this is going to be the process next time, there is no reason whatsoever I would participate in such knowing full well that the outcome can be manipulated from all angles. Now, someone talked about the issue of money in elections. You see, world over, money in itself to mobilize support is not bad. The issue is once it comes in to bribe, change results, once it comes in from a negative point of view, that's where we can condemn them. But surely I can't begrudge a rich man who decides to spend money on radio adverts and billboards and all that. It's only that now corruption in this country has become so, it's within us.
Endemic.
It's endemic. The issue here is, and at least for the NRM, we had a process which seems to be, on the look of things, it should be a fair process. It looks good on the optics. You have a tribunal. You have, you have a way to vent. And as I was telling you earlier the other time, that we just went through a counseling session with this tribunal thing. There were about 400 petitions. And of those petitions, only, I think, they claim 9 were reversed. But I can assure you, in the House, there are 69 independents. And 69 of them, 50, I think, 50 plus are NRM. I expected that if you were to go by what is going to happen in the 2026 election, you would expect that of those, if they were really interested in cleaning up the process of the NRM, you should have had overturned result of not less than 45 contestations. But that didn't happen. So I felt like it was a farce. So looking at the judgment which we were given for us who petitioned, who participated in the petitions, the judgment didn't even mention some of the evidence that we produced, like whether this video you can say, okay, this is altered, this is it, nothing. And they give you a judgment and you go with it. They told us the process was not a legal process. They told us this is a fact-finding and all that. But the judgments came out quoting Besigye versus Museveni 2006. I said, no. You know, the tribunal itself, one of the rulings, made a ruling to say Tango Doi has no right as the Electoral Commission chairperson to cancel an election. I found that, I found it strange. They were going by the law and all this kind of thing. So, for me, it was a farce of an election.
All right.
And there's no way the results in the final elections will reflect democracy within the parties.
All right, let's now go to Honorable Paul Mwiru. Honorable Paul Mwiru, you've been listening to your colleagues on this panel actually providing their views and the comments that they've made about your political party, NUP, but also what happened in the NRA. But let's hear your overall opinion on how the things shaped. And now you can explain some of the things that happened in the processes of your political party.
Thank you, Kenneth. I want to thank all the colleagues who have contributed. And I want to start with democracy. Democracy, it's not like an English oak, that the way it was transplanted from England, that is how it must be practiced here. For instance, the parameters discussed by Dr. Sarah were all existing in our process as the National Unity Platform. In law, doctor knows that you can't reprobate and approbate. That you cannot want to benefit from a situation. Then at the same time, then you want to sever and say, you see, because you see, you are either, you must accept the way the situation is. In our processes, there was fairness in the sense that people appeared before the vetting committee. There were put questions about the values of the party, what the party stands for, loyalty and service were questioned, and marks were given. That was the first step. The second step, as you had been briefed earlier, there was a team of competent people whose services the party enlisted. They visited all these electoral areas, and they came with findings and said, these are our findings. The third was that our leaders in those respective areas were involved in these processes. What I find a little bit funny is that the process was fair, was transparent, was independent, and was participatory up to a time someone did not get a card. For one reason. When we started the process, there were allegations which were made by some people that, some people are soliciting for money from other would-be contenders in the race. The press conference was conducted. We set up a team to receive complaints about any individual who is actually involved in such. People were not actually turning up to give that information, so to reprimand those who are perceived to be involved in such. But I want to deal with the elephant in the room. The National Unity Platform is a revolutionary party. There are certain traditions which must be broken, because apparently, I see my brother from Gomba, there is entrepreneurship, stroke selfishness, versus the leadership we want to create in the country. The entrepreneurship tends to cover what we are up to. Because I know most of the complainants, that's why people ask that, how do you deny a card to an electropreneur who has occupied that office, you understand, for all that time? The other question also need to be fair to the National Unity Platform. If you got a card, you became a mayor, you became an MP, and you're only returning to pick another card. Does it augur well?
What do you mean returning?
You say, because the other question had been that you see people got these party cards. Just people go and seek for leadership within political parties. One is the chairman of a district, doesn't conduct an activity, chairman of a sub-county. But you see, whenever the election is of electing new flag bearers, new office bearers, the person turns up. So you ask, because we're asking them, you are the chairman of that, yes. How many meetings have you conducted? Literally none. You understand? So for those who are trying to, actually, my brother here was trying to relate our processes to theirs, which were made by money. You saw my senior brother, Honorable Chris Mariomos. He laid bare what was taking place. In our processes, we are dealing with a situation where people are saying that I did not get the card, I was unfairly treated, or I did not do the other. But I've also had people
of money.
No. You see, for instance, I'll give an example. We've set up channels for people to raise these issues on time. For instance, you see, even this process of politics per se, the process is corrupt. It starts with the voters themselves. You understand, by demanding money from the people seeking leadership offices. And to me, of course, there is where you would say, leader, try to come to you and say, Honorable, I know you are in charge of these 6 districts. But you see, I had come to meet you. I said, to meet me over what? You understand? That I thought we would have lunch together. Maybe I take some time. I say, no, please. I can afford the lunch. I can afford my tea. I can afford my fuel. You see a leader who's willing to deprive his family, you understand, of his small mega resources he has to facilitate the process to get a card. You understand? We are dealing in the country where people can make all these advances. That's why we actually created direct lines that if anybody is asking for money from you, from our team, please come up and raise this matter. Even and 3, they are not saying at first that members of the vetting committees, because it wasn't only one committee, there were committees which moved along these sub-regions. None is coming up with a particular issue against a particular commissioner or a particular person involved. Why those claims would follow? Why actually they are dead on arrival? The process was elaborate. That even if you dealt with one person, it will not guarantee you getting a card. So if their claim is that they gave money to someone against the rules of the game and against the constitution of the party, they know whom they gave. They should go and get actually their money, because we made it categorical in a broad daylight at party headquarters that please, we are not selling cards. This is the process of identifying leaders. I've also heard my sister and my good friend Imam Kasozi talking about that you see the space for complaints. The space was there. Why? That you see the complaint would make a lot of sense if someone was complaining that the person you are competing with has participated in illegal activities of some sort, has engaged in violence, or has engaged in any other. Once the committee came up, first listen, once the committee came up with the list, take into account the parameters we had agreed on, and said these were the candidates, we created the room for people to say, I applied for LOC 5, I was given a cancer LOC 3. Because those were the issues which we were primarily dealing with, because the process.
There were errors.
The process was conducted by the party.
How about
the question.
How about when we had people saying that you have given the card to somebody who has no support on the ground? You know, the complaints about favoritism, about corruption, and things like that. They all came up. We had.
No, actually, first, you see, now that person was exercising the mandate of the EMC. You understand? Because we all agreed that this election, this position, by the way, let me make this clear. Our objective of participating into the politics of the country, this is just a platform. It's a front that because we know this isn't the end in itself. That actually, that's why leadership in NUP is a deployment. We deploy our people and say we have deployed you to go and become the mayor. And because we have deployed you through the vetting process, we have the power to say that in as far as we are concerned, through the vetting process.
So you're operating a party list, so to say, like...
No. What I'm saying,
but if you
I've told you,
then.
you see, you actually misconstruing the democracy to mean lining up. you understand? Guided democracy, no, because people participated. Because the Dr. Sarah has laid the parameters. Yes. Can you point to unfairness in our process?
Participatory. How participatory?
People participated. They appeared before the committee. And they actually they showed what they know about the party. They spoke about their loyalty to the party. They spoke about their service to the party.
All right.
What did we have? We had too many good candidates to choose from, to the extent that we chose the best out of the many good we had.
All right. In a nutshell?
Yes. To me, in a nutshell, I want to make an appeal to our supporters that our struggle is not about Mweru being an MP. It's not about us having a mayor and a councillor. Because however much we do all those type of things without taking the presidency, all these will be exercised in futility. So let us just use this as a mobilization tool to focus on ensuring that actually win the presidency. These are mobilization structures we have actually created. If the other time Imam Kasozi was given a card and he was our mayor, why should it be bad to give Lukwago? Because Imam Kasozi has been there when Lukwago is watching and is supporting. Why should it be that it's only Kenneth to support Imam Kasozi? Because we are people of the same family.
Okay.
They are the same objective. We are in the same family. So we don't say problem unless someone was floating the process.
All right, let's go to Imam.
That's why we need to make out of
Imam, you heard from Honorable Paul Mweru responding to some of the issues you put across, but also you've been able to hear from your colleagues the input they had in this particular discussion. Now let's go full throttle on the issue of the NUP.
Okay, we start with that one.
Yeah.
We shall go back to
Kampala.
Okay. Thank you so much, and maybe I can thank him for defending his case. But he knows from the bottom of his heart that the method used scientifically, it is not applicable. Especially interviewing people, probably, yes. But even in those interviews,
how do you
they are
select
biased.
good interview?
But how do we, with the case of the ground support, if I asked as a student of statistics, because it is on the statistics you gather, the information, the data you gather, what variables, for example, people want to know the variables. Number two, the analysis method that was applied for you to determine that Imam has support on the ground, Kayonde does not have. 3, in the process of analysis, at what level? Was it a bivariate? Was it a multivariate? Did they put any controls so that to determine now that, for example, if I have 4 candidates and I remove Imam Kasozi, how with the removal of Imam Kasozi in the analysis affect Kenneth and Kayonde? That would determine that surely this one has taken the day. I'm telling you, at even the basic level of analysis, that method of saying that you can go and gauge from the public by asking individuals on the street, what is the representative size? What is the sample size? Was it representative? Okay? Because all those facts, to an ordinary mind, it is okay. To Imam Kasas, a student of statistics, no. And there's no way you can convince me that you went down to the road and asked people. I have done research at all levels.
Sampling is allowed.
That sampling on determining leadership is not in the method they used. I can challenge if there's any doubt. And I said, pull out 5 or 10 areas, and we table down the variables applied, the analysis level, the data collected, and we analyze it scientifically. You will get shocked. That's why I have reservations for it. But is their method? Their method should have worked well if they had what they call the ground results. If they had let people vote on those ground levels, then the votes they got be part of the boardroom meeting which they wanted to use to apply. That's where I have a problem. The second thing, the method used to determine whatever application you want to put in, it is not measurable. To give you a quantitative result of saying that out of the 60, really, Imam Kaso's got 50.
All right, Imam.
So that's where my problem is. Me as Imam.
All right. This has been at the level of councillors. What are your readings for the MP positions? Because these are the next ones.
That's why even it is still far away not to be announced, because it's going to create more chaos. Why? The MPs are a bit high enlightened than the councillors. I have one councillor from my area where I come from. I'm not a member of NUP, but I'm an elder in my area. All across the board.
You will move and shake.
NUP, NRM, all these parties, including those who are, they even come to ask. There are people I discouraged and they did not participate. Because somebody came and said that she was vying for Kampala. I asked her, are you serious? Then are you serious? Don't waste your time. Fortunately, she hid. She was from NRM. She hid. But she came to me as a person whom she trusts. And I gave her my review. And then I told him that even there would be your base is already divided over you because of your positioning in the society. Therefore, to me, I don't think it is a wise decision. So, what I want to add on this thing
very quickly,
the issue is in view of what the money item. This money item, everybody who lost largely, even in NUP, says it is only those who had the money. The councillors, I have councillors, those mayors.
Whom are they buying?
If it's an issue cutting across, isn't it possible that it's a mere allegation?
A mere allegation? It may be.
Meaning what?
From the NRM, we saw it.
NRM, they're actually buying voters. So now they're buying what?
Let's allow.
Officials money being used.
Buying what? Buying officials. You, as a person, I don't have any doubt about your credibility and integrity, but I know people in this country, what they are with issues pertaining to money. People...
But the mayor of Nassau has
taking-
the mobile money things.
Yeah, okay.
Nassau? No,
Yeah.
I don't know. One of them has
Some
released-
As a conclude,
evidence.
as I conclude,
Mm.
the payment itself is unfortunate. Because corruption, the one who pays and the one who receives are both corrupt. I have had issues with police officers on the road. When they say I have violated a traffic, I have a traffic offense.
Mm.
And then according to them, they think I should pay them. I always tell them openly, I have only two options. You give me the ticket or you forgive me. Only. I don't have any other option.
Right.
And then somebody says, but you know, a ticket is much. Then I tell him, I better give that money to the government, not to you.
All right, Imam.
And one time, what I experienced, somebody was from the Muslim background, and now he wants to use that this process of you reap, you earn where. Then I told him, but you are paid a salary. You see, that argument. And then I told him that Islam, this face of Islam, is not told to me. I know it myself. I listen to people, but I decide for myself. And that's when the man calmed down. And finally they said, they had all ganged up in the boardroom because I went up to the station. And I told them that, second, even the first we are talking about is not criminal. And I'm not supposed to come here directly. I can come here tomorrow when I have time. So what we need to establish in the public, the credibility and the confidence for people to have trust in the system. And so that we help the electoral commission, which is going to manage the big election. Because Kayonde is complaining he was not treated well in the whole process, the exercise. And he has declared that, it is archaic. But I think at a given time he accepted to participate in it. Yes. He should have taken the stand of Aisha Sechindi, who, for her, she said, me, I cannot subject myself to this.
No process.
Yes.
Spectrum Xtra on Radio 1 FM 90. Let's go for a break. When we return from the break, we'll hear from Dr. Sarah Riete. We have Mr. Kayonde here in studio, but also Honorable Paul Mwiru, as we continue looking at the challenges the NUP party is confronted with as it starts giving out cards to what would be those persons who will be their flag bearers. We are more interested in what is likely to happen with the MPs, the next process that is coming up. Stay tuned, Radio 1 FM 90 will continue after this break. We're glad that you're still with us on Spectrum Extra, reviewing the major events of the week. We have a panel of 4 on air today. This includes the Honorable Paul Mwiru, member of the National Unity Platform Party. We have Imam Idi Kasozi, lecturer at the Islamic University in Uganda. We have Mr. Isaac Kayonde, economist and NRM member, vying for the position of Gomba West parliamentary seat. And then Dr. Sarah Vilete, chief executive officer at the Center for Constitutional Governance. Well, Dr. Sarah, you've had the views expressed on this table. You've had the rebuttal given by Honorable Paul Mwiru, who has explained that there was a lot of fairness in the NUP processes. But many people are concerned about what is likely to happen. The higher we go, sometimes they say the more challenging it becomes. We have cards of MPs coming up. What's your reading? What's likely to happen?
First of all, a party worth its name should have capacity to identify the capabilities of their members and advise them on levels through which to serve. Paul Mwiru has said the service is not a do or die. So when you look at the credibility of people NUP has deployed, I want to use 2 examples of Marion Chirabo and Shamim, Dr. Shamim
Nambasa.
The former gate president of Makere.
There's another one, Dr. Nalukwago. I think she's in Makinde East or something like that.
Yes. If these were being groomed to become MPs, they have capacity. I think a party should sit and look at the functions of MPs. Our democracy has gone in a rat hole, basically because of a non-functional parliament. a parliament where you have a shouting mob because they are not capable of discharging the functions of an MP as enshrined in the Constitution. In the current parliament today, we have about 30 people who qualify to be MPs beyond the senior 6 and equivalent. Yes, I have said this, let them come for me. I work with them. And I can name who I think qualifies.
Only 30?
Yes.
That would imply majority of Ugandans do not know what they are electing if you say that. Because
I will come also to
these were people elected by Ugandans.
I know, and I will come to the voter.
Mm.
So if anybody is building a credible political party, the people they front at the national level is a reflection of what that party is about.
Mm.
It also explains whether that party is ready to take power or not. Because Ugandans are not fools. They are not going to hand over power to just anybody who can win an election. You must qualify. You must be capable. So if a party is not able to pass this capability and credibility test, then they are not ready for power. What is the role of opposition? Opposition is government in waiting. So if today NUP captured power, Ugandans would want to see if you call the elders in NUP, can they fill cabinet? Can they make, for example, the 1986 cabinet of Museveni, which was the best we've had so far? 86 cabinet, Museveni has gone reducing the level of credibility in his cabinet downwards. But anybody who is challenging NRM then should do better than NRM. But if you are challenging NRM to do worse than NRM, Ugandans are not going to accept that. So if they are fronting, and I know that the stuff we've heard from the state mayors in Kampala Metropolitan talking about allegations of extortion, whether they are lying or not. State mayors are educated people, and we hope they are part of the senior leaders of NUP. I've seen them on several platforms. From Chira, from Nansana, from Nakawa, the mayors, and another one, I've forgotten the, complaining. One has put on social media the money transferred in those extortion agendas.
6 million.
And if NUP,
To party account or to...
no, it's individuals calling.
And the numbers
So,
of the individual who received
the
is
duty
there.
of NUP, some have taken money there by cash. The duty of NUP is to get rid of people extorting money from the public. It is not a matter of defending, because this issue first came out in 2020, 2021. We thought it was blackmail. Many of us in governance spaces thought it was blackmail. It has remained consistent, and it's not a matter of being dismissive. If you have elements that are distorting money from the public, it is your duty to clean up your house. It is not a question of saying bring proof. No.
We have cleaned. He sent money and we didn't give him a card. Because...
No. That's not the question. Do you have people extorting money from the public?
We called for people who have evidence to
Your
come.
party headquarters have cameras. Some people have said they've taken their cash. It's upon NUP to clean its house on this matter.
All right.
Some people have been mentioned. You sack them from the party.
All right.
So, but going back to the people, now the race, how they gave out the flag, the method. I think the method is not okay. It is not okay. A party should sit and say, of course, expression of interest, but also decide who qualifies and who doesn't qualify. This issue of saying the people have decided, I know President Museveni, and then
Now they have decided who doesn't qualify and who qualifies, and you're disputing their process.
I'm explaining why, where I think they are wrong.
Mm.
NRM has been using an excuse of the people, especially President Museveni. The people have asked me not to retire. The people. No! What is the difference between leadership, the leader, and the led? If the
point of the electorate. That is what you are challenging. That's where the problem is that the trust levels for our processes, whether it is NRM or NUP or whatever, or the national election, the trust levels for these processes is so low that you see, you're talking about evidence, and I've said there's a gentleman, don't quote me on Nansana, but he was on Twitter today, showing the 6 million he gave a certain one, whatever. And these are there. The mayor of Xtra came on TV and explained to us that, they asked me for 10 million. So who am I to dispute what he's saying? Yeah. That so you giving a window, for example, of 1 week to nominations and not giving people that breathing space. That, look, I can agree that even us in our processes, as much as they are just ceremonies, and the process will go through like that tribunal,
the ritual,
right? The ritual. It comes down, because even me, I left thinking this was the most fair process in the world, because there are 3 lawyers. I had brought evidence. People had carried briefcases of evidence, and it comes you down like I'm showing them, But in actual sense, after the judgment, you're like, okay, this is it. So I think for me, when we go back to the population, the electorate, there's a big thing that parties must do. There's a civic competence that we must increase in our electorate to understand, like she said, the roles of an MP and everything. For us in our villages, it's now a barrier competition. Whoever buries more is likely to become the MP than the one who has better ideas to change the society. So some of those things need to be, you have to look into introspectively as parties across the board to understand that, look, nope, you have issues, and those issues are not being addressed by you being absolute and saying, okay, this is our person, this is it, and this is it. That's my take on this.
All right, let's go to Honorable Paul Mwiru. Very quickly, you respond to these issues. We'll also get the comments coming in from the listener, and then shift our gears to the mayoral race here in Kampala.
First, I want to say we take the feedback about the process on how we should have done it better. Personally, I don't believe that voting means democracy. But we take the feedback. With the first, we were very clear. There was a caveat emptor. Buyer, be aware that actually we are not selling cards. Any leader worth the salt who says that, I gave money, and then I was actually not given a card, they would be praising our system, that the system weeded him out. You understand? Because if he said,
he could also say that the other one paid more.
Yes, it is an if I understand, for instance, I'm saying, before.
Money per se, for you are talking about 6 million.
Yes.
But people are talking of billions and
yes. Now I am coming to that. Then, for instance, my brother, why I don't want to debate, there's also being a bad eroser. For instance, now, we have a process which is ongoing for parliamentary. If someone does not believe in I talked of reprobation and approbation. If you don't believe in the process, which for us we are saying, it has all the parameters of fairness, participatory, independent. You understand that all the parameters, as far as we are, and at transparency, we are saying they are there. There was an expression of interest. They have explained to people that actually when you come to our processes, this is how we are doing it. The NRM was open, other political parties were actually open. For you to come and participate, when the other time they gave you a card, it fell short of telling us how much did he pay. You understand? It's also because you see, for me, at least from my experience, I've ever been in a political party, and I left. I didn't have insults at them because my disagreements were in terms of strategy. I didn't have anything to abuse. Like, for instance, if mayor says he was asked for, can he repass who asked? Because the people who are our commissioners, they have names. They're actually known. And we were pledged to take action against them. Then the most important, my good friend Imam Kasozi was challenging our process by the sample space. You see, he was trying to dispute the votability I read all things we're trying to put. Then he rings on one issue, Nansana, and say by virtue of Nansana, but we correct the primaries across the entire country. If we are to employ the same spirit, the same principles, we would say that if we conduct the election throughout the entire country, and the mayor of Nansana, as alleged, said he sent 6 million to someone whom actually now this information is very important.
I'm just hearing it.
Yes. Then the question would be, the mayor of Nansana, from over thousands and thousands of positions across the country, is this representative of what was taking place? Then too, and most importantly, I think my sister talks about education. There is education for enslavement and education for liberation. We are with the professors in the parliament, Dr. Sarah, and these professors were funny. I saw people with masters when we were in parliament becoming like deal brokers. You understand, with their masters. But there are also people. Yes, but there are also people who are not too much educated. They would say, honorable, you debate. The direction you take is where we shall go. And they never actually at any one point voted against the position we are having as all of us. So to me, the debate must be there. But I want to...
Competence.
Yes, competence.
Not
I agree.
education.
Fine. Then the issue of extortion, first, even these people, Doctor knows that actually these people I stopped from participating in activities which we told them that if you try to go in these vices, this is criminal. You go and participate, Kayonde goes and participates, then he starts telling us that, I sent money to Kenneth. First, you were stopped even from... Because
all right.
We're very categorical, very clear.
We have a tweet here quoting one Sally Isaac Keith, who happened to be a candidate in the NUP race in Nansana. And from what we are seeing, the mobile money transaction indicates that he sent 6 million shillings to one John Bosco Serunkuma. And John Bosco Serunkuma was also a candidate in this particular race.
So
because I've also seen his poster, he was also a candidate in the NUP primaries in Nansana for the same position of mayor. Originally, he wanted to be the MP municipality, the flag bearer in the municipality. I have that information because I come from Nansana municipality.
So now, let me now ask you.
So who is bribing who?
So now let me ask you.
The other one asked.
Let me
this one.
Let me ask you. So who is John Bosco Serunkuma? I know.
He's a member of NUP.
Meaning what? Because you see, we set up clearly a structure of people who are dealing with these processes. But, so if you send money to Kayonde,
is it possible Serunkuma is an agent?
We don't know. Actually, then the question should be: we should be asking the type of leader who want to gain access to an office by actually sending 6 million to someone who's not even in the because you said at the end of the day, if this so-called candidate, if he was operating what he was doing, he would have gone to the party headquarters, know whom we bought. So actually there is trust. But even then, we have been calling that if anybody complains about it, if anybody extorted the money, please come. First, even then, you see the problem. Doctor knows that even the admissibility of what is flashing, we are in an era of AI. We are in an era of fake news. You understand? We are in an era of fake news because this social media thing, which seems to be the primary source of information of Kenneth, it has no editor. You understand?
Yeah, but
so now,
so they also do. I mean, they are smart enough to say bring cash or this.
I know what I know for sure. That gentleman, Sally Keith, listens to this show.
Yes.
He has participated in this show before by sharing with us some information.
Yes.
And if Mr. Sally, you're listening, can you clarify to us?
Yes, you should come.
Why did you send the money to Mr. John Bosco Serunkuma? And the role he plays in the electoral management committee of the NUP?
The same person who was a candidate, he appeared before a committee at a party headquarters. He knew people who were involved in giving the card. To me, this even speaks about volume, about the type of person. And I think the Kayondes of this world, you should be praising our system. That actually it charged him with
I've already agreed.
it charged him with this
To the group leadership, their system is
tamper-proof.
tamper-proof.
It charged
right?
him with this 60
But
million.
us who are seeing, us from the outside, we are looking at the loopholes.
So let's go to the listener and hear some of the views on what we are discussing here this evening. We have already comments coming in. Good evening, everyone. Radio 1 FM 90. This is Owen Akando, now listening in from Chema District. You know, I think even NUP is accepting that this is their own downfall, because among heaven and earth they promised people 4 years back, nothing came true. Kwaheri to NUP and warm welcome to PFF. Museveni is still here, and in General Muhoozi we trust, for God and my country. That's a comment from somebody who is, I don't understand. So where is his allegiance with all these people in court? I don't know. Then we have another comment from Mawa Amaza Moyo, who writes in and says, good evening, Spectrum Xtra. The current parliament is just full of opportunities. Only for Jaja, he just requires numbers for winning motions only. That's the reason he keeps telling the citizens, vote so and so, I can work with him. So the people now believe they must send the choice of Jaja. The MPs in my district have never said anything for 20 years, simply because they contribute money in funerals. That's all what our people need. You can just imagine. It's normal because they citizens don't know their responsibility. Then another comment comes in, NUP is a big joke, and anyone who believes NUP has a sensible system to organize any serious election is believing in a fallacy. They need to take leadership seriously and stop exploiting the civic incompetence, especially among young people, to extort and manipulate them. Enough is enough. Unfortunately, he didn't leave a name behind. We have another comment from Okama Emmanuel, who is in Mkono municipality. Following the show politics in our country is no longer for identifying leaders, but rather survivors yearning to join government business by all means. Well, those are the comments that are coming in from the listeners. Unless there's somebody who wants actually to tie up a loose end, make a rejoinder to what they submitted, we can move on to our next topic. Yes, Imam.
Anyway, what I can say, whether primary, whether national, what it signifies is really poor vote education. We civic education or vote education is really lacking. And also the way those in power have applied sectarian methods, whereby Imam Kasozi is allowed to go and talk freely. When Muiru attempts, he is blocked. And two, the message that we want, where is it? We are bringing it at funerals, as you are saying, at functions, like if there's any wedding, somebody's giving a talk, we end up talking politics, because we have now got an opportunity to talk where we shall not be harassed. So we must, the state itself must create avenues where everybody is free to have opportunity to be listened to, okay, and also to listen to others. This will create an avenue where to build trust. Two, all of us, since we are involved, irrespective of the party you belong to, it is your right to question your own and even the others. Many people, they don't mind. Actually, the biggest challenge of this country is the elite, the educated people. People have become indifferent just because they are waiting for the next appointments. Until we change from that, we are in trouble. The things we are discussing here would be the ones being discussed in departments of sociology, political science, economics. On which campus do you hear it? So that's where the problem is. Until we also sort out that one, we are in trouble.
All right, Imam, and I want to begin with you on this issue of
I wanted a comment, my last comment on, because you did ask what do we expect for the parliamentary race. I think NUP's other challenge is how to maintain party cohesion while tolerating reasonable dissent within the party. You will find that most of their incumbent MPs have been blacklisted for one or two issues that could be done away with in the interest of the common good of the party.
For instance? blackmailed.
They will
the certain
mention things like this one has not been coming to headquarters. This one, you will see them in the vetting. The list will be out. But I've been hearing because I work on democracy. So you find that most of the complaints they have against incumbent MPs are of that nature. This one has not been visiting. This one has not. So you will find that they think everybody should be being a party member means that you lose yourself and your mind. So they don't tolerate any form of dissent.
Let me ask you a question, Honorable Sarah Wilete. If you have staff in your office and you call for a general meeting and all people are expected to be there and some staff perennially don't come, do you act or you just keep quiet?
What if you call a meeting when somebody's sick, when somebody has traveled out of the country?
Well, somebody
you find out why they have not come. So those are some of the issues. Then, of course, they are also recovering from the Mpuga saga. So some of the friends of Mpuga are also blacklisted, even when they didn't follow Mpuga to his party. So you find that even the so-called vetting includes some of these petty issues, which I think a party should not do. As I conclude the African saying, if a cat wants to become a lion, it must lose its appetite for eating rats. This proverb is for Noob. Noob must ignore petty issues and build the party.
So what advice would you give them going forward?
Ignore petty issues, tolerate reasonable dissent. Human beings cannot be 100% thinking in the same way all the time. Reasonable dissent in the party is
if
good.
it happens that
That cannot be a crowd of fools. People have to disagree on one or two issues. So they must tolerate reasonable dissent in the party.
At what point do you think a political party should crack a whip, Dr. Sarah? At what point would a political party crack a whip?
Sorry?
At what point do you think a political party should crack a whip?
First of all, there are issues. Of course, 5 years old. Their constitution has issues. For example, I don't know the forum where MPs gather. Like other parties have a parliamentary caucus. I don't know whether NUP has meetings of parliamentary caucus. So you find that it does.
It does, yes.
So do these MPs attend or not? Do they attend their caucus meetings? Because that was one of the issues that came out in the quarrel, that there is no forum for MPs. I don't know those details. But my point is, there will always be dissent, even in a family. Our children disagree with us, teenage children. Couples disagree. Do you mean tomorrow over small disagreement you are going to be divorcing every day? So that's my message to Noob.
All right, let's hear from Honorable. You would want to respond to that?
Well, I think there is one thing we cannot divorce from political parties. You see, all political parties which are represented in the parliament, they have had an issue of loyalty of members to the party. No party have no problem with dissent, because we always disagree on a number of issues. But you see, insubordination and indiscipline should not be construed to mean that actually it is dissent. For instance, the party has organs from the caucus in the parliament. The party has been taking decisions. You understand? The question why people talk about loyalty is that are you participating in activities of the party? Because people think that the party is about just contesting for an election. Because I see many people thinking, because the party does many activities, build-ups to that time, and even strengthening the party. I know the problem is not only actually here as the way it is being raised. I saw it when we were in FDC, that there are people who would be elected, and once the time is elected, he says he's a senior politician. He doesn't take heed of any leader. He doesn't attend the committees. He doesn't, because I saw it in Parliament. I was a leader in Public Council Committee. Someone is designated to you as a member of your committee. He doesn't turn up for meetings. Then when there is a trip, he tells us, I am opposition. This is opposition committee, I must travel. I said no. The one I reported, I said, just go to hell. Let people move you on their committees. Because you see, even me as a leader, I'm mobilizing my members to come and attend the committee. Because you could be there. You are 4. Civil servants are 30 in front of you. The committees of 30 members. But when you're looking at your opposition people, they're actually absent. You understand? And when you call them for me, they don't turn up. When you put, they don't actually respond to anybody. But when it comes out time for the card, then they turn up. So these things make sense yes, people want to listen to them the way they are, but we must also accept that if we go, that's why actually for me, I'm one of those that if I have a leader, and I say Dr. Sarah is my leader, I support Dr. Sarah to the latter until at a time when I will come and say, please account to me. But when you're a leader, and maybe you are more cleverer than the leader, and you don't want to be led, it also creates very many problems.
All right,
and that's why at one particular point in time, we must ask, does Sarah respect the institution of this party? How does she respond to this? It helps to actually guide, because other many leaders will come, because you have no degree in contesting. That you see, this one has a degree in contesting, so therefore who must be running. I thank you.
All right, Spectrum Xtra on Radio 1 FM 90. Let's go for a break. When we return, we'll shift our gears and look at the mayoral race, which is pitting the Honorable Erias Lukwago against about 5 other candidates. Who will take the day? Stay tuned to Radio 1 FM 90. We'll continue after this break. Well, thank you so much for staying with us on Spectrum Xtra, live on Radio 1 FM 90. We're broadcasting from the Central Building, which is the home of this radio station, live on our website, www.radio1fm90.com. You click on the icon with the word Listen Live. We're live on DSTV. Our audio channel is 897. You can also find us the different radio listening apps. My name is Kenneth Anderson Lukwago, your host. I have a panel of 4: Honorable Paul Mwiru, Dr. Sarah Birete, Mr. Isaac Kayonde, and Imam Idi Kasos. We're reviewing the major events of the week. We've spent almost 1.5 hours discussing the challenges that are continue to crop up in our political parties when it comes to identifying flag bearers. Now, political parties have identified their flag bearers for the position of Lord Mayor in Kampala, and indeed mentioned some of those people who are actually in this race. Erias Lukwago will be representing the PFF. Is the incumbent. Engineer Ronald Balimwezo Nsubuga, who has been Nakawa East MP, is shifting to this particular race. The Democratic Party has fronted Beatrice Mao, and we have FDC, which has fronted former Makindye East MP Ibrahim Kasozi. NRM has fronted Moses Chizito Nsubuga. Former Kampala District Woman MP Nabila Nagai, who ran on the NUP ticket in the last election, is running as an independent. I want to begin with you, Imam Idi Kasosi. You are the oldest on this table, been in this city for quite some time. You understand the challenges of Kampala, but also you understand these people who are in this particular race. Tell us, what's your take about this mayoral race, and who do you see emerging victorious, going by what has happened in the past?
You see, when you live in a country where contesting becomes the fashion, without sitting down to contemplate on what you are going for, you have something like this. Of course, some of these people, you can call them tested politicians in the position they held, but not necessarily the mayorship. That is number one. Number two, the promises they want to make. Some have just come because their institutions want to be represented. Okay? In the final analysis, this race will be a 3-race contest. Lukwago, not PFF, but Lukwago as a person. Maybe Balumwezo, because of the party.
NUP.
Yeah. If they can hold the center, by the way, that's when it may make any sense. Otherwise, it may. Then NRM, because of its tricks. Beatrice is just a novice. And not just even a novice. Coming at a time when the party she's representing is at low ebb in terms of the population, because of what is going on in the once the mighty Democratic Party.
Imam, Erias Lukwago represents the PFF. He's the chairman. Why are you?
I know.
Why are you cutting him off from his political party?
I know. I know. It will be, actually, the mayor race is going to be more of an individual merit than the political institutions will represent.
On the part of Erias Lukwago.
That's why I'm telling you. Because the way things are moving, Chizito was a businessman. He was part of, I think, one of the organizations that bring these traders together.
Casita.
But the question behind, I am not a trader, but I'm in business in some sort. And I know the voices of
The traders.
the traders. Some of them are even surprised that he picked the forms to stand. The traders.
Well, if people were not...
And I'm telling you, I'm very close to traders because I've been in trade, you know. I used to work from here. My business was down here. We used to interact. So that's where. Then Nabila, I don't know.
What do you mean you
because
don't know?
Nabila is the daughter of my friend. I know the family where she has been married. I don't know. If she had asked me, I would have told her, don't stand. Don't stand. Because if she fed at a time when Noop was up there.
The wave.
Yes. I don't know the chances she may have. Last, all of them, they talk about, they have their manifestos, okay? But they don't determine. They have no control over the resources that we need to work on Kampala. None of them has the guts to stand up and tell that on Kampala Road, I don't want to see any stage for border. The other day I drove in Kampala here. I said, what is this on the Kampala Road? I did not, actually, even this company for parking, I don't know why it pays KCCA. Because the space that would be for people to park have all been taken by border.
Not only border. You go now on the street, there are people selling vegetables.
They have come in the evening, maybe. And until we have somebody who has that guts of saying that, I want to lead, but I must never be led by the led. They must guide me, but in our case, it's the other way, including the president, by the way, over such small things. Okay, so income, resource, the basket they will collect. Like, for example, you have said, one of them said that, said he will use a big percentage of the collections, but the collections from cases goes to the what?
He said he will push for that bigger percentage to remain here.
He will push through what? when the headmaster, the big man, His Excellency the President, has publicly declared that if you want services, you elect the one you want. That is already.
So you're automatically telling us that President Yoweri Museveni is going to win the next election. That's what you're telling us. Because you're assuming that he will be the president and Balmwezo will be the Lord Mayor.
You may argue so. Actually, if there's any election to go by, you see, I told you the scenario that happened in Kololo when people were disturbing. Do you know the reason why he had to come in to call down the young people to go away? Because they had become rowdy and they had not declared him as a flag bearer and the official chairman. And therefore he said, hey, I may not what? Then he said, hey, young man, 500. And he's not shy.
No, but I also have to correct this. The 500 was because the elections were going to be postponed.
Let's not digress back to that. Let's not digress back to that discussion. So who wins?
It was the facilitation that, since you're staying here for another extra day.
Is he the one in charge? Don't you have treasury? Don't you have treasury?
All right, Imam, let's remain on focus.
Okay. So,
Sigala Kumein.
I am saying, therefore, you are saying who does what?
Who wins eventually?
Who wins this?
And what do you think will determine?
Chizito with the tricks he may contain, but in real voting, he has no chance. Nope. Balmwezo and Lukwago. But that one also will be determined by what goes on in Noop after declaring the parliamentary seats, because if we go by the councilorships now, they have no chance. If we go by the councillors,
I don't know how many independents they have.
they have no chance because they have been disgruntled. After the problem was caused, no fell into a trap of this Dempuga thing. She put it, if NOP had neglected the Dempuga thing and they maintained their course, they would be much stronger. But every time Mpuga 500 million, and they will go every time, and people got disgusted. Then in the process, they also seem to have picked. Then the people begin to raise that even them in committees of parliament, okay, they even failed to table some other reports because they had pocketed money. Therefore, it came to zero-sum game. But all of them, to the eyes of many, but never bitano.
All right, let's move on. Dr. Sarah Bireta, your quick take on the mayoral race.
Okay, the last one, Lukago may use also, because people may say, initially, DP, independent, FDC, PFF. Okay? What is he?
Opposition.
And then,
The
squabbles he has with some outstanding businessmen over what he said is going to protect public what?
Assets.
Which is right, which is good. But unfortunately, in the eyes of who?
You know, the elephant in the room in Kampala city management is the governance dilemma created by the KCCA Act, where central government took over the administration of Kampala. Many of these people making manifestos are making manifestos as if we are in the old system, where Kampala, capital city, was operating under the Local Government Act. And those blaming Lukwago for not performing also forget that the act disempowers the road mayor. And this is something the voters must understand. That the road mayor, in the direction of things, control direction, is fighting from outside. The executive director with the directors are in charge. The road mayor plays oversight. Sometimes from outside even. Some things are passed. We saw like the Chitezi saga, the collapse of Chitezi, where memos are saturated of a leaking garbage site without copying the mayor, and other things. So when you look at the manifestos, you find that whatever people are promising, they cannot deliver. But for me, the most unfortunate spectacle in the race is the grasshopper politics by opposition. In Kampala Metropolitan, because main opposition, have failed to sit on table and agree on the basic issues, the races in Kampala Metropolitan will be largely opposition versus opposition. And me as a person interested in change, I have nothing to celebrate. That NUP has defeated the PFF. So what?
Those are two
so
different.
What?
Those are
no,
two,
no, I'm coming.
Those are two different political parties. They are registered to vie for political office, and they have the right to front their candidates.
True. That's why I said that it's grasshopper fighting for the opposition. So for the common man out there interested in change, there is nothing in it for you. It is about taking a position. It is not about delivering change. Because if you are delivering change, why are you fighting a person who is on your side? So these are just survival politics.
Why do you describe it as fighting and not competition?
No, let me explain this. The people who are outside NRM want political change. They are not interested in division of offices and who is occupying what position. And that includes me. People desirous of improved service delivery. You cannot do it in isolation. The problem is rooted from NRM and the mess in NRM. So where you have largely opposition fighting opposition. For me, whoever wins is just a job. It is not contributing to change. Because it was opposition, first of all. But the failure to agree on minimum standards. There is no country, be it Kenya, you can benchmark from Kenya, Namibia, Senegal, Gambia, Ghana. There is no country where a regime has stayed in power more than 10 years and then a single party removes that regime. You must come together as a collective, combine your resources, human and capital, and combine your support base to compete with an incumbent that is using state machinery. Because the opposition do not compete against NRM, they compete against the state. So for me, I have nothing to celebrate whether NUPU defeats PFF. So what?
But how do you see the race?
Yeah, so if opposition had fronted one candidate, we would say that's a seat that is already written on, that is already home. But now they are engaged in grasshopper competitions.
All right, let's go to Mr. Kayonde. Mr. Kayonde,
Yeah.
grasshopper competition. Will the grasshopper competition give the NRM leverage to actually take over Kampala?
Well, I think for me as a Kampala resident, really, again, we are discussing the form rather than the substance. The substance should be that once a person is elected mayor, what is his impact on Kampala? First, I want to disabuse really this notion that the mayor's position is ceremonial. Based on this act, and she brought up the issue of the act, we have the first one was the KCCA 2010 Act, and then there is the 2020 or 2019 KCCA Act. Now, the first one had a situation where there were overlapping duties between the executive director and the mayor, and it caused a lot of constraint between the political wing and the technocrats. And we see this. This KCCA is not unique. We see it in ministries where you have political heads and then you have the technical wing headed by the permanent secretary. Now, what the Act of 2019, the draft, I think was 2019, they passed it.
The amended
Act of KCCA Act of 2020, kind of then defined these roles and empowered KCCA a little more on the political side. And actually, Lukwago celebrated it because before it was coming, there was a debate of whether the mayor should be elected by the councillors and all that. In the previous one, the mayor was the one who headed the executive at KCCA and also the council. So he was the speaker of the council and he was also the executive, something like that.
The authority.
And in this current one, two positions were created, the speaker and the deputy. So there's a council which is headed by the speaker of KCCA. And then they created what they call the executive committee. The executive committee, I think, is a 4-member committee headed and chaired by the
political cabinet.
The political cabinet, but it is chaired by the mayor. Secondly, in the role of the mayor, it is clearly stated that he will provide strategic direction for the institution for the authority. So in that, if a person like Kwago...
What is the avenue?
No, let me finish. That you see, in his performance as a mayor, he should be able to strategically direct that authority to provide services to us. Now, I can understand the challenges. What we are faced with right now is a disconnect between the political and the technical wing at KCCA. Are Kampala people ready to continue with these squabbles? There is nothing that the KCCA and the technical wing, there's nothing that the technical wing brings up as an idea that Lukwago is going to support.
And there is nothing that Lukwago brings on board.
Yes.
That the central government or the technical wing supports.
I can understand.
So
right now, the act as it is, Lukwago has been contesting the act around who has the budgetary function of the authority. So that is his main problem with this new act. Otherwise, when it came out, he was we have managed to get our baby. You know, him and Namboze. They said they had championed it in parliament and they had won. So for me, again, like I was saying, you have the problem we have as Kampala residents now. We have to contend with, should we continue with this situation where you have an opposition which is hell-bent on disagreeing with the technical wing at whatever cost? Or do we contend with people like Balimwezo? I think for me, he's a very good candidate. He doesn't seem to have he has voice of reason. Like, I feel like he's a person who will be able to contend with the politics of the day, to understand what is good for the city and what isn't. Lukwago has been given time to prove it, and really we are in this mess.
You support Balimwezo against your NRM candidate?
I didn't know this Moses Kizito Subuga. I am a very ardent NRM person. Even when I'm not in the structure, at least I would know. I have never heard of this Moses Kizito Subuga. So I am going for experience more than really party colors. And this is the failure. People think that when you are in a party you should lose your head. But Moses Kizito Subuga, I've done a few. I did a quick Google search. I have nothing. You know, so for me, and this goes back to the Nup debate or how they were picking up their leaders. That if you go for Nubian Lee versus Mugambe, was in that vetting process, was there a box for experience? Was it there? And what score did it have? Was it a 3, a 2, a 1? So that we know that Nubian Lee's experience that is bringing to this Mero Nakawa is this weight, and Mugambe failed at this. Anyway, but
quickly.
That said, I honestly truly believe that the executive also has a role to play in transforming Kampala, and until the executive shows, it may show the willingness, until it shows the commitment which it gave Jennifer Musi in 2011, until it shows that commitment to the technical people at KCCA, we will change leaders and nothing will change.
All right.
Quick information.
I want to give you an opportunity very quickly because...
Yeah, I just wanted to give quick information to my brother that actually Lukwago worked with the technical team and produced the Kampala blueprint 2024-2030.
Well.
In that blueprint, the year makes, it was adopted last year. And KCCA is going to launch their strategy, 5-year strategy, in October, like in 2 weeks' time. In those documents, KCCA have their own plans of redeveloping Nachuvubo. But what does the executive do? Under the table, hand over Nachuvubo, undermine all these efforts, and that's how Kampala is being run. That's the information.
Thank you. Just lastly on that point, that then goes to show you that it takes away the point that you were saying that the mayor is the powers were taken away.
Yeah.
If you are saying that indeed that he's doing all these things,
it's like advisory.
Right, let's go to Honorable Paul Mwiru. Honorable Paul Mwiru, you know the Honorable Elias Lukwago, you've been with him in thick and thin, you know Honorable Balimwezo, you belong to NUP, Lukwago belongs to PFF, and you heard the language that Dr. Sarah Virete was using, fighting. And I've had people talking out, actually, even on street sweepers saying, why would NUP float a candidate against Elias Lukwago?
Well, you see, when we were dealing the KCCA Act, we told the Attorney General then that the law must be blunt. You don't come up with an act to target an individual. They came up, and actually there is if you look at the structuring, they have a minister, because I've always had, they also have a minister whose work is to attack Lukwago. I've never seen had him all the time.
The functions of physical planning were transferred in this current act to the minister, to the ministry rather.
Yes.
So it's
you understand? So the confusion has also been created by this. Of course, they were using the numbers. It's not that actually Lukwago numbers are one over that. Because by then I was in power. When I tried to deal with the act, because we're trying to fight the issue of Lukwago being purely ceremonial, there were the gives and takes. Not that we were conceding, but we would end up getting nothing during that time.
All right, understood.
When it comes to where Kenneth is pushing me, He has made. I've worked with the Lord Mayor. I've worked with Balmwezo. I've worked with Honorable Nabira. I've worked with Honorable Kasozi. It is the Chizito who is a novice whom I also don't know. The way my brother he was saying. I think this fight for this position, there must also be strategic reasons. What I may not state here on this show, maybe which I may deny the audience, that there were also efforts. Because the way my sister, doctor, talks here, it is like you see, we just walk into some of these situations without any efforts to avoid this, the happening of some of these things. I think where we also need to get, I think serious as